the Nestle Health Science webinar on texture modification and dysphagia, supporting Nutrition and Hydration Week. I'm Caroline Hill, Medical Affairs Dietitian for Nestle Health Science, and I'm joined in our kitchen today by Gary Brailsford, our dysphagia chef for Nestle Health Science, and also welcome to Sophie Merritt, Head of Nutrition and Hydration at Sunrise Senior Living. We're going to hopefully today debunk some of the myths that exist around texture modification and dysphagia, and show you how you can create tasty and safe food for those individuals with dysphagia. We've already received lots of questions from our customers about how we can create these foods for people with dysphagia, and we're also going to be taking some questions from you as viewers, so please do send those through to us as we go through the show. So let's get started. So Gary, I think we'll take one of the first questions that we'd already had prior to the session today. As you can imagine, we have a lot of residents in care homes with dysphagia, and they obviously celebrate their birthdays, and for people without dysphagia, they're given a piece of cake as part of that celebration. And usually what tends to happen is that these residents miss out when they've got dysphagia. Is there anything that we can do to address that?
Definitely. We've got a cake here, which is just a normal cake. I'm going to use a soaking solution.
Brill, do you want me to get that cake? There you go.
Okay, what we've got here is just a normal cake, but it's got a couple of key points here really we need to just go through. There's icing on there, so this is going to be risky for people with dysphagia, so we're going to have to take the icing off of there. We're going to make a soaking solution up. So what we've got is 100 ml of water, or we could use milk. What we're going to do, we're going to use 1 level scoop. We're going to make the soaking solution to a stage 1. So level scoop, we're going to put it into the clean dry container. So we're going to put the powder in.
And you always just use 100 mils for...
I think that's going to be enough. If it's for one portion, I think that's fine. If you've got obviously more, if there's probably 4, then you need to times up by 4. So that's important. So what we've got is a spoon. We've got the liquid. You could use fruit juice, or you could use milk. It's entirely up to you. I would work around the residents' preferences, so their likes and dislikes, I would suggest.
Gary, can you do the soaking solution for things like biscuits and other items as well?
You can. It's brilliant for the rich tea biscuit, where we can soak it exactly the same. Make up the solution to stage 1. Pour it over the biscuit on a plate, which you'll see what we're going to do in a second. Just make sure that's dissolved in. Give it a good stir. And leave it for 2 hours in the fridge. It needs to be a nice consistency. Make sure all the powder's all dissolved in there. Right, we'll leave that for a minute. So what we're going to do, I'm going to just grab a knife. Okay, I'm going to take the ribbon off. Just take this round. Okay. So what I suggest we're going to do is, rather than cutting a portion out of it, is better to get a thin slice. So, and obviously, normally what I would do in a care home is you don't want to give them a big wedge. So what we'll do, we're going to cut down. And I say we're going to cut the portions as if you were cutting it for, I don't know, a birthday, and you're trying to get so many portions out of this. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this, and it's better to grab it from the middle. So what we've got, if you can see there, we're just going to take the pastry off, the icing, take the icing off. So we're going to make sure we get a nice sized portion.
And you're looking for it to be a very even size portion,
yes,
so
because
it'll absorb all the fluid.
Exactly, and this is why we don't do a wedge, because at the bottom part of the wedge it's going to absorb, but the top part, if it's quite high, it could be dangerous, it could be too crummy, and this is where we're going to have an issue. So what we've got is we've got the sponge here. If you're really worried, what you could do, you could cut it in half like that, put it together, put it on the plate like so. We've got the soaking solution, made sure it's dissolved in, it's got the perfect consistency, we've checked that, that's perfect. So that's the consistency, and what we're going to do is just pour it over.
And you're going to be using all of the fluid to pour over as well?
Yes, because you want it to absorb, you want it to make sure that you get a nice consistency. So it's going to be, basically it's going to be the texture see.
Brilliant.
So once we've soaked it and left it in, and put it in the fridge for about 2 hours, this is all going to be absorbed, and it will be nice and soft, and it will be a perfect consistency. The other thing you just need to be careful about is the jam. Make sure there's no pits in there, for instance.
Yeah,
if you were doing a homemade birthday cake, for instance, so that's important.
But it's nice that you can still have the jam and the cream in there, because obviously that's going to make it taste nicer, and nutrition-wise will give a few more calories as well. So before you put that in the fridge, are you going to do anything else with it? Are you going to cover it, or will it just go straight into the fridge? I think
just leave it like that. You don't want to take the moisture off it. So we're going to just put it in the fridge. Fridge it is. Leave it in there, as I've said, for about 2 hours. And then it's going to be perfect then to hand out to the resident, and they can have some enjoyment. That's part of it for the birthdays, and a lovely occasion, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. Thank you very much for that. I think that was really useful. So have you got experience of soaking solutions being used in your
I think it's so essential, because it's snacks sometimes that people can miss out on, and knowing that malnutrition is a big issue for people with dysphagia, you can't miss out. You miss an opportunity to offer them nice snacks.
And it's about having that variety as well, isn't it, rather than just being offered yogurts all the time, or
absolutely
that type of dessert. So
that's a brilliant point, because it is, you know, it is a birthday, and they do get yogurts all the time and mousses all the time, so it's a little bit of a different texture, and I think it's inclusive, isn't it, with the rest of the birthday, for instance.
Exactly, it makes it a lot more pleasurable for everyone involved. Thank you very much for that, Gary. So I think, Sophie, did you have a question for Gary?
Yeah, I have. Gary, Sunrise Senior Living and Graceful Healthcare, our chefs really focus on the presentation and making the food look absolutely beautiful, but I think there's a fear perhaps that it is really difficult to do, it's really time consuming, and obviously we never want to go back to the stage where people are providing slop. What are your tips?
Right, okay, well that's brilliant. I've got some food that's already prepared, so I'm going to get that out. I've got some different foods, so we'll go and grab them. And I wanted to show you some tips. What I've got is a root vegetable to begin with, and then we've got okay. These are my tips around the vegetables, and I think what I try and say to people is this: that you should treat it really importantly as if it's a really important occasion. You need to go back to basics, and we need to make sure that the vegetables are cooked properly. So I'm going to show you how we're going to present it, but it's about that cooking and making sure that it's right. So this is what we're going to use for the purees, for instance. So I just want to show you here that, do you want to just feel the carrots? If you push the fork in the carrots, you can see that it just goes in, it's just cooked. Yeah.
And do you always need to use a fork doing that? Because I would traditionally use a knife.
What happens is a knife's really sharp, it's going to go in there really quickly, so you could give it a false impression. Have a check of the D's and the E's. This is cooked a little bit different, so it's not cooked the same. It's a little bit softer, isn't it? You can see the water content in it.
I can feel softer with the fork.
Do you feel like you could mash that up already, starting to break it down?
Yeah, I do. I'm almost tempted to.
Well, I think we should. I'm going to grab the plate, and I think we should do that. I think it gets.
A willing volunteer there.
There we go. So we'll put a piece of carrot on there. There's a fork. So we're going to put the thumb on the fork at the base, and we're just going to mash it down, and it should change shape. So that's perfect for the D's and the E's. You see that?
Yeah.
And it looks like you're not really having to put in a huge amount of effort, it's just breaking down quite nicely.
That's really, really soft.
So we know that's pretty straightforward. And I'm going to show you, we're going to blend the carrots. And I'm going to show you how easy, you said about the presentation, I'm going to show you how easy it is just to do something, just like some piping. So we'll grab the blender, put some carrots in here. So that is the ones for the seed, just checking. You can tell by the fork, as I said. I'm going to put that in there. Secret is when we're blending this is to do it from the top. So we're going to go down, we're going to make sure we don't push it down too quickly. The motor will start smoking, it will probably burn out. So we're going to go it very gently and let it go down to make sure there's no lumps in there. Let it do its work, because if you bring it, push it down too much, you get the lumps that go around the sides, and that's what's going to go in the food.
You can see that changing quite quickly already, can't you?
And I'm not pushing down, so let the blade do its work. If you've got anything coming up on the side, you can just push it down and just go. Because it's a glass container or a clear container, you can do a visual check on the sides, have a look, see if there's any big pieces, and even underneath, you can lift it up and look underneath.
I think what's really nice is the colour is so vibrant as well.
That's
really
because
kind of has that pop, doesn't it?
Definitely, because it's just cooked and it's nice, the nutritional content in there, you know, the colour is really vibrant, and people often say to me, it looks like there's colouring in there, and it isn't.
Yeah.
It's just cooked properly.
And that's really going to help in terms of making the food more appealing, isn't it, from a visual perspective.
And what you'll find, it is puree carrot. So it's cooked really good, very nutritious, and it looks inviting. You want to eat it, wouldn't you? That's
But you've added no fluids.
nothing whatsoever. You can hear the motor change then.
Yeah.
It just changed a little bit, so we're nearly there, I would suggest.
Yeah, less resistant.
Yeah. I'm just going to go down the bottom, just have a visual check. What we're going to do now, the blade speed, you can hear it going much quicker. We're just going to lift it just a little bit. And what you'll find is the product actually comes off the blender. Okay.
I'm so glad it's you doing that, Gary. If it was me, I'd have splattered us all.
Yeah, there's that tendency to flat while it's still blending and it just goes everywhere.
Now, presenting it, you know, there's lots of ways you can do this. We can do quenelles. I'm going to show quenelles, so we can do that. We can pipe, I can show that as well. But one of the important things I think we need to check first is just check, do that visual check. And it's just going back to that consistency, checking there's no wards coming off in it, doing a visual check, making sure there's no lumps in there. So we'll just put that there. So, what we're going to do, we're just going to do a visual check, just make sure there's no lumps in there at all.
Wow. So you're
See
looking
how
for completely
smooth.
uniform and smooth
Yeah.
appearance.
Good consistency. Just leave a little hole in it to see if any water comes in. Now I think we just need a small amount in it, because don't be tempted with a carrot. It will bleed.
Yeah.
It will come off, a little bit of liquid will come off of it once we put it on the plate, especially if it's going to go into a hot cupboard or something like that.
Does that happen with a lot of veg?
It can do it more so with carrot more than other vegetables,
Okay.
but even broccoli, depends the way it's cooked.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to put, can you see there's a little bit of water and it just shiny there.
Yeah.
Can you see that, Corinne?
Oh yes, I
water.
can, yeah.
So we're just going to put, we'll put 3/4 of a scoop. Don't want to add too much, but we just want to make sure, so it's gone straight in. We're just going to give it a stir just for 20 seconds, make sure it absorbs in there. Obviously we've made sure there's no lumps on the side, so we can mix it round fine, perfect consistency. So what we need to do, we need to do a visual check. So we're going to use a fork. This is a fork test as per the international descriptors. So we're going to grab products. Perfect product, little tail underneath, good consistency.
But there's no movement.
There's no movement in it. You can see if it was on a plate, it wouldn't move, would it?
Right, yeah.
The consistency, we're going to check the line, we're going to do the lines on the top. See how it leaves the lines?
Yeah.
Alright, yeah.
Yeah. So that's exactly how it needs to be.
Right.
So just that small, that was about 3/4 of a scoop of
Yeah, it's a very small amount, wasn't
just
it?
a small amount, just to make sure. Okay.
Was it the quenelles that you want to show us?
I want to show you the quenelles, yeah, and I'm also going to show you, we've got a piping bag with a plain nozzle. I'm going to show that in a second. So what we're going to do, we're going to get some of the product. We're going to just get it on the spoon, and what we're going to do, we're just going to shape this and just make sure, the reason we do this is because we are going to give it some height. So what I was doing, I've got the spoons and we just come from the back and we just shape him with the spoon.
And is it better to kind of very much load the spoon and then kind of be scraping
Yes.
the excess off as you shape it?
Yes, so you can see there, look at that. How it
Yeah, it
holds.
looks really good, doesn't it?
It holds a shape,
Yeah.
there's no water coming off there, you can see good consistency. But I want to show you how to pipe as well, so
Yeah,
we can
that's
do to
really
pipe it.
useful.
So what we've got is a small piping bag. We've got just a small plain nozzle, that's all it is. Key that you don't get the lumps in the carrots because you won't be able to pipe it with the lumps in there. So we've got the small nozzle in there. I'm going to just put this in. And I want to show you how quick and how easy it can be just to pipe the carrots to look like just baby carrots. So we've got the product in there.
It's amazing already looking at the way you served it. I would so much rather be served that than something that was just,
It's just so vibrant, the colours, isn't it, as well? Okay, so we've got it perfect in there. So what we're going to do, I'm going to move it out of the way so I can show you what we're going to do. Now, it's like powdered eclairs basically. So what we're going to do, we're just going to, this is just baby carrots.
And that's so quick and easy, isn't it?
Yeah, it takes seconds. You can see how easy it is to do.
Yeah.
And it just gives you a bit more of an indication of what that food is. I can imagine if it was maybe a major food, something like potatoes, it's not obvious always what it is compared to say something like parsnips.
Exactly.
So being able to kind of shape it like that.
You
really
could relate to
useful.
what that is, couldn't you?
Exactly,
so a resident
yeah.
with dementia, they would see that that was carrots and they would want to eat it, I would suggest.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And then I noticed there that you've got a plate with a coloured rim. Is that of any significance?
The coloured rim is good because it's a rimmed plate. Obviously, residents can assist themselves.
Yeah.
Also, they could, it highlights the food. So I think it makes the food look good. It's just better than a white plate, I would suggest.
Yeah,
I
and we
think
do
it looks
know
fine.
that people with dementia, for example, do struggle with colour differentiation, so being able to help will bring out hopefully the colours on the plates as well. And then I've noticed you've got this little gadget here. What's that?
Yes, that's a cloche.
Ah, okay.
So this is what we could do. So for instance, we're going to give you an example. If we had that on the plate and this was hot, because we're going to do this hot, don't forget.
Yeah.
So it's red hot, we're going to pipe it, play around with it a little while, and what we're going to do, you've got, I don't know, say 6 or 8 plates to do. What we're going to do, we're going to put this over the plate. Once it's still hot and it's finished, we're going to push it down, and you can see it acts. It's a vacuum. So you wouldn't be able to put that in the oven.
Yeah.
But what you could do is put that in the hot plate. It would go in the hot plate to keep it warm, and it would keep it moist, stop the skin forming, which goes back then to people wanting to pour gravy over the top of the food.
Safe,
Exactly.
And that's an essential bit. Yeah.
That's a really simple,
Brilliant.
really practical tip, isn't it? That there. Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. I think that's hopefully answered the question. So let's have a look to see if we've had any questions from our viewers. Let's have a quick look. So yeah, the next question is actually from a viewer who works in a large care home, and they think, it all looks great, but obviously they don't have a lot of time necessarily to create these types of foods. So what would you recommend for someone who's working in a very large organisation and has quite a number of dysphagia diets to prepare for?
Okay. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. You need to be organised. So you need to be structured. So you need to cook the food as I've said. This will save you time in the long run at the end, rather than just cook all the food and get to the end and then you've got to blend it and you're really struggling with the consistency of it. By cooking it properly, it's going to save you time. We saw how quick that was. There wasn't much work to get it to the right consistency. So it's about preparation. It's about looking at your menus and identifying them, what you can texture modify and what you can't. But it's about being prepared. It is.
And trying to use the existing menu that you've already got and trying to adapt it.
That's key,
results,
definitely, because I think that this can cause isolation, so we need to try and stay as close to the menu as we can. But you need to let your chefs know and let the residents know if there's any changes, because they will be upset if they're expecting something and they don't get it because they can't texture modify it. So they need to know. They need to know.
And obviously, Sophie, you work for a large care home organisation. I can imagine that this is something that you've had to look at in terms of providing for those dysphagia residents.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we chose to buy one of the major pieces of equipment, and made all the difference. So all of the things you're saying, the menu, absolutely essential. Still providing choice and making it look attractive. So yeah.
Brilliant. So another reason why this doesn't need to be difficult.
No,
because of
but it's training.
Tips and tricks, isn't there? Lovely. Thank you very much. So let's have a look to see if we've got any other questions. But Sophie, do you have another question?
Yeah, I guess another one of the biggies, Gary. You've obviously been doing it a long time, so it's second nature to you. But so you know how much thickener to put in certain foods and what needs thickening. And I know I've already picked up tips when you mentioned about carrots and looking at the glistening. What else? What other tips can you give around that?
It's about referring back to the national descriptors, I would suggest. That's about getting that consistency. So remembering that texture modified diets are a couple of issues. It's the texture, it's the size, and the texture relates to the purees and to the national descriptors for the D's and the E's. So get those right, that's going to be important. But the amount of thickener it is, using via the national descriptors, lifting up, checking that consistency, making sure there's no water come off it, making sure there's no lumps, and making sure that you add the thickener, you know, as it's there as an aid. So you shouldn't just keep adding it. You can add a small amount at a time, get the consistency and check it. Keep going back to those checks. There are the audit checks in the national descriptors, and that's what they're there for, to check them. Just go through, tape measure just to make sure you do the sizes for the D's and E's, and it's pretty straightforward then. It just becomes a matter of course.
Yeah, but like I say, understanding checklists and being able to look out for them and
Yeah, and I think, like you say, it's a national descriptors, there's guidance in there, so it's not a matter of just knowing that they exist, but actually the practicals of knowing how to use the fork test, knowing the sizes, for example. So that's really useful. I hope that's answered your question, Sophie.
Yeah,
brilliant. Thank you. So let's see if we've had any questions from our viewers. So yeah, I think we have. So this one actually is from now a small care home. And the question is, I'm a chef in a small residential care home with quite basic equipment, kind of none of this fancy commercial equipment that's also available. Can I still prepare texture modified food safely for individuals in my care home?
Well, the answer is yes. You can. You do not need lots of equipment. You've just seen and witnessed that we've just used the normal hand blender to blend it down, just a measuring jerk. Piping bags don't cost a lot of money to use. There are other things you can use, sort of rings to put the food in, to lift up. So you don't need lots of equipment. However, if you've got bigger numbers, then you need to look at the equipment that you're going to use. And I've got some equipment over here that I brought with me, so we can show you. Have a look.
Talk us through kind of how they're different to just a hand blender.
Okay. The first one, what we've got is the Thermomix, and the Thermomix is a piece of kit. It's like a kettle, so you can cook the food. It chops the food as well, and more importantly for the purees, it blends the food really, really quickly. Can I show you inside? And that's the reason why you can cook it. So it blends the food really, really well, gets it really smooth.
It's very similar to just a hand blender, just on a larger scale.
It is on a much larger scale. So I would suggest the hand blenders can do up to probably 4 to 5 portions, probably tops.
So if you are in a small nursing home, something like that.
Perfect. Perfect. As long as you treat the blender with a bit of care and just let the blender do the work rather than burning the motor up, pushing it down too hard.
And I suppose it was like what you were saying earlier about making sure the vegetables are cooked to a certain extent before you start blending them down.
Definitely.
And doing that check at each of those different stages.
Yeah. What we've got here, so that was the Thermomix. We've got the Robocoop, and this is a brilliant piece of kit. It's a double blade, so this goes around really quickly. The only thing is, because it's a double blade and it's very fast, what it's going to do is throw the product round the sides. And this is why a lot of homes have got these bowls, but they haven't got these lids. And you need this lid, because what this does, it goes round the sides of the bowl. So like when you're making a cake at home with your sugar and your butter and you're creaming it, you have to bring it back down into the side, into the middle. This is exactly what it does as well. So it cleans all the sides off, so you can be really busy, you can put your vegetables in and let it blend, and you can just stand by it and watch it, and it's going round and cleaning all the sides off, so there are no lumps in it. And this is key. Keep coming back to this with the lumps on the sides, and even the bowls when you're just blending with a hand blender, but exactly the same with this one as well. So you can see it just goes round and just cleans. It's a brilliant piece of kit.
Brilliant. And I think that's the important bit, isn't it? That as long as your equipment that you are using is completely sufficient in terms of being able to break down the food so that it is smooth and uniform with no lumps, that it doesn't matter in a way what type of equipment, whether it's something as simple as a hand blender or maybe the more fancy equipment that maybe you're familiar with working in a larger organisation.
I think it's to scale. To scale, and it's just those checks essential that there aren't any of the lumps in at the end.
Exactly, and I think it's reminding people, for a reminder as well, that if anyone is living in their own home, they're not going to have the access to this quite expensive and quite complex machinery, whereas most people have a hand blender, so it doesn't exclude anyone in terms of being able to safely prepare texture modified food.
Absolutely, because it's not big, heavy, bulky.
Exactly. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Sophie. Thank you very much, Gary. We've come to the end of our session. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. But just to kind of wrap up the session, hopefully this session's been really, really useful and just really demonstrated to the viewers that texture-modified foods can be created in a safe and appealing manner. If you want any more information, please refer to our website, and the website address should be seen on the screen now. And if you have any further questions that have not been answered today, please email us with those questions and we will try and get back to you with an answer.